So I recently came across an infographic on rape and false rape accusations. It looked at first glance to be completely trash, but I didn't really have the time, energy or motivation to go through and break it down point by point. But even more recently I came across a different infographic, which is exactly that, a broken down point by point refutation. So I decided to get my good friend Brandon to animate it so I could show you all in real time two things. Firstly, how rape statistics are frequently manipulated, and secondly, how statistics in general can be manipulated. So let's do that.
So here's the infographic, made by the Enliven project, and it shows all of these rapists, and you immediately notice how few of them were punished and how few of them went to trial, and with the massive figures it doesn't appear like the two who get falsely accused are actually that big of an issue. But when we start editing this to be more fair, you'll see it become very different. The first problem is its listing of false accusations in the not reported group. This is blatantly trying to play down false accusations, because logically a false accusation must have been reported, because that's how false accusations work. So we'll move those two into the reported group. Now there is a good chance they'd fit in face trial or even jailed, as we've seen that happen. I mean, look at Brian Banks, Kevin Driscoll, the Duke lacrosse team, or any number of the men who've been freed by the Innocence Project. But we will give the statistics the benefit of the doubt, and we'll leave the figures simply in reported. Now let's move on. The next issue is how padded this infographic is. The whole block of rapists that denotes those who were not reported is padding. You can't say for certain how many people did not report something, because they did not report it. You can estimate, sure, but a guess has no place in actual statistics like this, unless you're deliberately trying to trigger an emotional response and manipulate. So we'll get rid of this block entirely. Interestingly enough, we now have exactly 100 figures, with two figures representing 2% of accusations being false. If that isn't proof of padding, well, what is? The third problem is that the infographic assumes guilty until proven innocent. It assumes that those who went to trial and not to jail, and those who were reported and didn't go to trial, and even those who weren't reported, although as I've said that number is a guess, were all guilty. No evidence required. The bottom line here is that unless someone has been conclusively found guilty or innocent, we can't say for certain. To assume their guilt is directly in contravention of one of the most important cornerstones of justice, the principle of innocent until proven guilty. And so this whole block of reported/face trial, it's pretty irrelevant, so we'll merge it and we'll call it inconclusive. Already you can see how much of a difference being honest about statistics has made. The false accusations are a much larger percentage of the overall image and been placed in the correct section. But we aren't done yet. Finally, the infographic uses the lowest possible number of false accusations. Now some studies, such as the Eugene Kanin study, found false rape accusation rates as high as 40% of all accusations. But we won't use those. We'll use the statistics from the Enliven project, the people who created this. Because maybe they never heard of Eugene Kanin. So what do the Enliven project statistics say? 2 to 8% of accusations are false. Because now we have to ask, why would someone deliberately use the lowest possible estimate available to them? It's actually a simple answer. It's to downplay the commonality and severity of a crime which destroys lives and is treated as nothing more than a joke by most. But we'll be fair to the Enliven project and we'll not use the 8% highest figure, because that'd be being guilty of the same crime but in reverse. So we'll use the median, a fair number, 5%. And so these three guys here who are inconclusive, well, their appeals just came through. They're innocent. So look at the infographic now. The final stage. Reality minus the propaganda. 10% of cases are conclusively true. 5% of cases are conclusively false. And 85% of cases are inconclusive and could be either. And I ask the question, if 1/3 of the conclusive cases are false, why would we assume that none of the inconclusive ones are? In fact, let's apply the same trend of 1/3 false, 2/3 true to the inconclusive statistics and show you what this infographic would look like if that trend was repeated. Look at all the falsely accused now. Of course, we can't be certain that the inconclusive cases follow the same trend, but why wouldn't they? And importantly, remember, many of them will go to trial. They will go to jail. They will be victims of vigilante violence. False rape is not a joke, and it's not a non-issue. I hope this video has helped to highlight it.